But it really depends on where the storm is actually hitting, the quadrant you're in, the duration of the storm, how fast it's moving. You could have a tropical depression that's pretty weak, but imagine it's stuck and it's just sitting over the same area. Then, of course, you could be talking some devastating flooding, even with just a tropical depression. So we never want you to get caught up in, oh, it's just a tropical depression. Same as if we just have a low pressure area. Yeah, it's not a named storm, but sometimes just a surface low pressure could end up bringing flooding concerns, severe weather. So that's something interesting to keep in mind. But of course, naturally, as the winds get stronger with these systems, they typically do lead to more damage. So from the August to October timeframe is really when we need to watch closely for impacts here at home. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that we can't see impacts in June, and a lot of times we do, and we'll get into that more in just a moment. But if you think back to times where we've had significant impacts from storms, aka Hurricane Helene, just a couple seasons ago, that was in late September, which lines up pretty well with the peak of the season. A lot of times in June, we actually have what I consider beneficial tropical systems. And I know I mentioned at the top of the show, a lot of times even a tropical depression ends up leading to flooding concerns if they are stuck over the same area for a long period of time, and that's never good. But on the flip side, you could also have just a weak tropical depression that moves in, brings us some beneficial rain. Maybe there's some slight wind gusts, but it's nothing crazy. It's essentially just a rainy day. And a lot of times that can happen in June. So that's what we hope for in the month of June, especially when we're in a drought like we've been in lately. A lot of these times, these tropical systems, we also refer to it as rain with a name.
I've never heard that.
Have you not?
That's cool,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah, I like that saying because it really does show people, hey, yes, this is a named storm, but it's really just rain. A couple thunderstorms, gusty winds. I think, unfortunately, a lot of times when these do become named, or even if it's not a name, but it's a tropical depression, numbered, starts to freak people out a little bit. So we want to always remind you guys of that. Once we get later into the season, that's when we'll really be watching off the coast of Africa very closely. That's when they enter their West African monsoon season. There could be a lot of moisture off the coast of Africa. And right now, we have a little bit of Saharan dust out there, and that works in our favor to prevent tropical development, or at least minimize the strengthening. But also when you have that Saharan dust out there, it can interact with the moisture from the West African monsoon season. And I like to think of it as kind of like a dry line out in Texas, where you have that drier air interfering with the moisture, and then that creates these showers and storms, an area of low pressure, a disturbance off the coast of Africa. So that's what we're going to be watching later as we go into the season. But like Miller talked about, the areas to watch now are actually closer to home, but there is a big perk to this when areas form closer to home, especially when we're talking right off the coast of Georgia or South Carolina. There's very little time for strengthening. In order for these major hurricanes to form, they need to be over that warm, open ocean water for a long period of time. And if it's going to just be something that forms in the northern Gulf and then moves inland, that land is, as you all know, you're not going to get a tropical storm moving inland and then it becomes a major hurricane over land. That's not possible. So that's why a lot of times we do just say, this is just rain with a name. It's not something super significant usually. And a lot of times it happens when we have a stalled frontal boundary nearby. That could spin up an area of low pressure. Like we mentioned, June is not a significant time to worry about tropical systems, but it is a time to prepare. We call this the pre-season, really. Think of it like football season. You're not playing your SEC games yet. You're kind of easing into it. Or
preseason or like fall. It's like the spring game, fall game.
Yeah, because I'm thinking now I'm thinking I said that wrong because they do play SEC games pretty early on. I'm thinking of basketball season. Like with basketball season with the SEC, you got this whole long period, November and December, where it's all out of conference opponents.
True, that makes sense.
That's a better way to think about it. That's how we can view June and July. And then once we get to August, September, think of that as like January, February in basketball season. My husband will appreciate my sports reference on this. I'm learning. I'm getting better at my college football and basketball terminology. But anyway, here's your hurricane checklist.